spectacle of vast empty caverns. Which brings us to Cop29 in Baku, Azerbaijan, where I couldn't really see any people. It was just these huge, vast halls with no one in them. Very few world leaders bothered to go this year. The leader of India didn't go. The leader of Russia, of course, didn't go. The leader of France, Macron, didn't go. Olaf Scholz didn't go from Germany. Even Ursula von der Leyen from the EU didn't go. Joe Biden didn't go. And, of course, Donald Trump didn't go because he believes the whole climate change emergency saga is a hoax, which, by the way, cast a massive cloud over the nonsense in Azerbaijan. The president of Azerbaijan stood up and said to the assembled eco-fanatics, including crazy Ed Miliband, that oil and gas were gifts from God. I bet that went down like a cup of cold sick. But Isabel, Starmer, again, it's this performative claptrap, this is. He stood up and said, we're going to cut emissions to the level where they're 81% less than 1990 levels. What a weird sort of... What do you mean? 81% less than 1990. Where did he get that from? It won't happen, of course. He's still droning on about us being a clean energy superpower. You know, we, as a nation, we have reduced our carbon emissions over the past 10 to 15 years by 42%, significantly more than any other nation on the face of the earth. We produce less than 1% of the world's carbon emissions, so nothing we will do will make any difference. And yet Starmer and that madman he goes around with, Ed Miliband, they seem to think that if we do all this, if we impose or condemn the residents of Britain to being colder and poorer with their absurd, incoherent policies, green policies, that, you know, Xi Jinping, who also didn't go, of course, will be over there in Beijing going, I can't get to sleep, I'm so guilt-ridden about what Britain's doing. You know, that Putin's going to go, I've got to say that London's taking the lead on this, we've got to get greener. I mean, who do these idiots think they're kidding?
I mean, it does completely beg a belief, doesn't it? It seems that they think that there are lots of votes, or maybe it's nothing to do with votes. Maybe they just like doing that lefty thing, which is sunbathing in the, you know, the moral high ground. Yeah. That's what they like. They just like to bask in having this kind of sanctimonious, lofty position. And their latest thing is that Britain should be a world leader. We should be providing global leadership on cutting carbon emissions. But as you say, we've already actually demonstrated that we're good at this stuff. We've gone way further than I think we probably needed to. We certainly don't need to be hurtling towards some completely made-up goal of cutting carbon emissions to a certain, what was it, 81%?
81% down, down on 1990 levels. He could have sort of said 87% down on 1986 levels. I mean, it's just really bizarre.
It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to real people.
Of course it doesn't. No. And we'll never reach net zero. Let me also point out, Isabel, that 400 planet-destroying private jets descended on Baku for this event. And this is an important thing we must get to just before we finish this compelling hour that we've delivered to our fortunate audience. Only kidding, folks. Seriously, Claire Coutinho, who is the shadow net zero secretary for the Tories. She was on Mike Graham's breakfast show this morning, and she refused to distance the Tories from all this green claptrap. Well, I've got a message for Kemi Badenoch. If she doesn't ditch all of this, the Tories are finished. They're finished.
Well, I think it's going to be one of the top issues at the next election. You know, so far it hasn't resonated completely with people. There's been, I think people have felt they haven't really understood it, or they're immediately made to feel stupid if they question the agenda, or they're smeared as dinosaurs and climate change deniers and all of that. But I think in the run up to the next election, over the next few years, the whole atmosphere around this debate is going to change, and it's going to change because Trump has just got no truck with it whatsoever. And he is going to open up a big dividing line, I think. And at the moment, the Tories, as you say, have been immersed in this stuff. They embraced this whole agenda for years and years. They allowed, the vested interests around the climate change agenda to absolutely balloon. And it's very difficult to admit you've got it wrong, and it's going to be painful for them to row back on it. But unless they do row back on it, they are opening up a massive opportunity for Reform UK,
Absolutely.
Which is the only party that has consistently labelled net zero net stupid. So what would be net stupid politically for the Tories would be continuing to embrace this agenda, because they'll find themselves with net an awful lot less votes.
It is net stupid, absolutely. If Kemi doesn't do something about this, they are really finished.